Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Welcome to Sri Radha Govinda Temple. The deity looks very beautiful today, and the reason is that deity is invited at one of our neighbors, Rajesh Gulab's place. Rajesh, his wife, and Mary, and two daughters, Christina and Vanessa. So, Vanessa's birthday is on 18th of December. Happy birthday, Vanessa. And they actually grew up in this temple. And we are celebrating the birthday today, along with the whole family, neighborhood, all the devotees. Those who are watching us on YouTube or on their laptop or cell phone, whichever way they are watching. The Gulab family is also with us. And once again, we wish happy birthday to Vanessa. We have been knowing them for many, many years, and they are the most valuable congregation members of Radha Govinda Temple. No matter rain or shine, any event, they would like to come and help the temple, especially on Janmashtami. And the events like Gita Jayanti and all that. So, please join us. And today we will be reading from Bhagavad-gi. As a tradition, we should be singing Jai Radha Madhav Nikuñja-bihārī, which was the most favorite bhajan for Srila Prabhupada. Jai Radha Madhav Nikuñja-bihārī, Jai Radha Madhav Nikuñja-bihārī. Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivardhari, Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivardhari, Jashodanandan Vrajajan Ranjan, Jashodanandan Vrajajan Ranjan, Jamuna Tira Vanachari, Jamuna Tira Vanachari, Jai Radha Madhava Nikuñja-bihārī, Jai Radha Madhava Nikuñja-bihārī. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Jaya Prabhupada, 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 Jaya Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada, 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 Jaya Prabhupada, 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 Jai Jai Prabhupada, 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 Jaya Jaya Prabhupada. Namo Vishnupada Paramos Parivrajak Acharya Astotra Sata Bhakti Vedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Goswami Maharaj ki jai. Ananta Koti Vaishnava Vrinda ki jai. Namacharya Haridas Thakur ki jai. Prem se kho Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shivasati Gaur Bhakta Vrinda ki jai. Antarvip Mayapur Dham ki jai. वृंदावन धाम की जय, तुलसी देवी की जय, भक्ति देवी की जय, समावेद भक्तवृंद की जय, गौर प्रेमानंदी, all gurus to assembled devotees, all gurus to assembled devotees, all gurus to assembled devotees, all gurus to Guru and Gauranga. Let's pray to the Guru Parampara and try to get some blessings before we touching Bhagavad-gi. Om Ajnana-timirandasya Gnananjana-shalakaya Chakshurunmilitam yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Shri Chaitanya Namo-bhistam Sthapitam yena bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamaiham Dadati Svapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yuttapadakamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavauscha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sagana Raghunathanvitam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadutam Parijana Saitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Pada Sagana Lalita Shri Vishakhanvitamscha. He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Deenabandhu Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kant Radha Kant Namostute Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Rushabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Hari Priya. Vansha kalpatarubhyascha krupa sindhubhyaevacha patitanam pavanebhyo vaishnavebhyo namo namo. Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. I was born in the darkest ignorance, and my spiritual master opened my eyes with the torch of knowledge. I offer my respectful obeisance unto him. When will Srila Rupa Goswami Prabhupada, who has established within this material world the mission to fulfill the desire of Lord Chaitanya, give me shelter under his lotus feet? I offer my respectful obeisances unto the lotus feet of our spiritual master and unto the feet of all Vaishnavas. I offer my respectful obeisances unto the lotus feet of Srila Rupa Goswami, along with his elder brother Sanatan Goswami, as well as Raghunath Das and Raghunath Bhatt, Gopal Bhatt, and Srila Jiva Goswami. I offer my respectful obeisances to Lord Krishna Chaitanya and Lord Nityananda, along with Advaita Acharya, Gadadhar, Shivas, and all their associates. I offer my respectful obeisances to Srimati Radharani and Shri Krishna, along with their associate Sri Lalita and Vishakha. O my dear Krishna, you are the friend of the distressed and the source of creation. You are the master of the gopis and lover of Radharani. I offer my respectful obeisances unto you. I offer my respects to Radharani, whose bodily complexion is like molten gold, and who is the queen of Vrindavan. You are the daughter of King Vrishabhanu, and you are very dear to Lord Krishna. I offer my respectful obeisances unto all the Vaishnava devotees of the Lord. They can fulfill the desire of everyone, just like the desired trees, and they are full of compassion for the fallen souls. I offer my obeisances to Sri Krishna Chaitanya, Prabhu Nityananda, Sri Advaita Gadadhar, Shivas, and all others in the line of devotion. So as a tradition, this is a beautiful prayer that we chanted. Now, our sponsors are into Krishna consciousness since at least last 35 years or more. So they have some idea about Bhagavad-Gita, and that's why the request from the sponsor was to read from Ashtadash Shloki Gita. As you know, Gita itself is divine as Ashtadash Adhyayini, means the scripture which is having 18 chapters. But here, Ashtadash Shloki, that means like in 1 hour or so, if you have to cover the 18 chapters, it will not be possible for somebody. But it is possible for somebody to read 18 verses of Bhagavad-Gita. So our sponsor requested us to read from Ashtadash Shloki Gita. And last night, even I didn't know what was that and where to get. But when I looked I came across that Ashtadash Shloki Gita. So today we'll be reading from that. And it goes like that. It's very beautiful and very melodious at the same time. It says, Arjuna Uvaja. Nimittani cha pashyami viparitani keshava na cha shreyo nupashyami hatva svajanamahave yogasta kuru karmani sangatyaktva dhananjaya siddhaya siddhayo samo bhutva samatvam yoga uchyate karmendriyani sanyamya yaste manasa smaran indriyarthana vimuddatma mithyachara sauchyate Shraddhavan labate gnanam tatpara sanyatendriya gnanam labdva param shantim achiradi gacchati yatendriya mano buddhir muri moksha parayanam विगतेच्छापय क्रोधो यः सदा मुक्त एव स युक्ताहारविहारस्य युक्तचेष्टस्य कर्मसु युक्तस्वप्नावबोधस्य योगो भवति दुःखः देव्यैषा गुणमयी मम माया दुरत्यया मामेवे प्रपद्यन्ते मायामेतं तरन्ति ते अग्निज्योतिर्शुक्ल षण्मासा उत्तरायण तत्प्रगाता गच्छन्ति ब्रह्मवेदो ब्रह्मजना अपि चेत्सु दुराचारो भजते मामन्यकपाः साधुरेव समन्तव्य समज्ञ व्यवसितो हि सः यो मां जमनादिं च वेत्ति लोकमहेश्वरम् असम्मूढसमर्थ्येषु सर्वपापे प्रमुच्यते मत्कर्म कृन्मत्परमो मद्भक्तसङ्गवर्जितं निर्वैरः सर्वभूतेषु यः स मामेति पाण्डव श्रेयो ज्ञानमभ्यासात् ज्ञानाज्ञानं विशिष्यते दानात् कर्मफलत्याग त्यागा शान्ति निरन्तरम् क्षेत्रज्ञं चापि मा विद्धि सर्वक्षेत्रेषु भारत क्षेत्रक्षेत्रज्ञयो ज्ञानं यत्यज्ञानं मतं मम मां च यो अभिचारेण भक्तियोगेन सेवते सगुणान् समतो यत्यान् ब्रह्मभूयाय कल्पते निर्मानमोहा जितसंगदोषा आध्यात्मनित्या विनिवृत्तकामा द्वन्द्वैर्विमुक्ता सुखदुःखसंगे गच्छन्ति मूढा पदव्ययं तत् शास्त्रविदं सृज्य वर्तते कामकारत् न सिद्धिम् अवाप्नोति न सुखं न परां गति मनप्रसाद सौम्यत्वं मौनमात्मा विनिग्रह भावसंशुद्धि तत्व तपोमान समुच्यते सर्वधर्मान् परित्यज्य मामेकं शरणं व्रज अहं त्वां सर्वपापेभ्यो मोक्ष्यामि मा शुच गीतासारमिदं पुण्यं यपठेषु समाहितं विष्णुलोकम् अवाप्नोति वैशोकविनाशनम्। इति श्री भगवद्गीतासु अष्टादशश्लोकी गीता समाप्तम्. So as you see, the beauty of this particular Ashtadasha Shloki Gita is the sages were churning Bhagavad Gita. Bhagavad Gita itself is the conclusion of all the scriptures. When sages churn all the scriptures, all the Vedas, all the Puranas, all the Upanishads, the Itihasa, Rama and Mahabharata, and all that is available in spiritual world, when they were churning, Bhagavad-Gita came out as a summum bonum of all the scriptures. So, when they chant Bhagavad-Gita, what happened? So, out of those 18 chapters, the sages found 18 verses which actually is base of Bhagavad-Gita. And that is what we just read. Those verses were from first chapter, verse number 30. From second chapter, verse number 48. From third chapter, verse number 6. From fourth chapter, verse number 39. From fifth chapter, verse number 28. From sixth chapter, verse number 17. From seventh chapter, verse number 14. From eighth chapter, verse number 24. From ninth chapter, verse number 30. From 10th chapter, verse number 3. From 11th chapter, verse number 55. And from 12th chapter is verse number 12. From chapter number 13, verse number 3. Chapter number 14, verse number 26. Chapter number 15, verse number 5. Chapter 16, verse number 23. Chapter 17, verse number 16. And last chapter is 18th, verse number 66. So, our sages are so merciful that they have not only given Bhagavad Gita, but the conclusion of Bhagavad Gita is also given right there. And then at the end they have added, as I was reading, Gita sara vidam punyam yapate sumahita Vishnu lokam avapnoti bhayashok vinashanam. What it means? That one who recites this, all auspicious conclusions of Bhagavad Gita, with attentive mind will be freed from fear and sorrows and will go back to Godhead. So this is the simplest way. And I congratulate once more to our sponsor that he recommended to read this particular portion of Bhagavad Gita. Nimittani ca pashyami viparitani keshava naja shreyo nupashami hatva svajanamahave. Arjuna on the battlefield of Kurukshetra is beginning with this sentence and he is addressing Krishna as a Keshava. And he says, O Krishna, killer of Keshi demon, I see only causes of misfortune. I do not see how any good can come out from killing my own kinsman in this battlefield. So this is the doubt he had in his mind. And then Krishna is trying to explain. And he says, Yogasta kuru karmani sangam taktva dhananjaya siddh asiddhyo samubhutva samatvam yoga uchyate. Perform your duty equipoised, O Arjuna, abandoning all attachment to success or failure. Such equanimity is called yoga. So here, the definition of yoga is beginning to explain. And then he says, Karmendriyani sanyamya ya aste manasa smaran indriyartha vimudatma mithyachara sa uchyate. One who restrains the sense of action, but whose mind dwells on sin objects, certainly deluded himself and is called pretender. It goes again further. And what is most important in order to achieve the final goal of life, it begins with a small little faith And that's why he says, Shraddhavan rabhate gnanam tatpara sanyate indriya. Gnanam ladva param shanti achirenandi gacchati. A faithful man who is dedicated to transcendent knowledge and who subdues his senses is eligible to achieve such knowledge, and having achieved it, he quickly attains the supreme spiritual peace. So, our Goswamis also say the same thing. Ado Shraddha, Adas Sadhu Sangha. What is required in the beginning is a little bit of faith. If you don't have faith, then there is no any spiritual life in front of you. So you have to have faith. And that's why Srila Prabhupada explains in his purport that such knowledge in Krishna consciousness can be achieved by a faithful person who believes firmly in Krishna. One is called a faithful man who thinks that simply by acting in Krishna consciousness, he can attain the highest perfection. This stage is attained by discharge of devotional service and by chanting Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare, which cleanses one's heart of all material dirt. Over and above this, one should control the senses. A person who is faithful to Krishna and who controls the sense can easily attain perfection in the knowledge of Krishna consciousness without delay. And then again, it says, Yatendriya mano buddhir muni moksha parayana vigatecha bhayakrodo yasada mukta evasa. What it says? Shutting out all external sense objects, keeping the eyes and vision concentrated between the two eyebrows, suspending the inward and outward breaths within the nostrils, and thus controlling the mind, senses, and intelligence, the transcendentalist, aiming at liberation, becomes free from desire, fear, and anger. One is always in this state, is certainly liberated. Being engaged in Krishna consciousness, one can immediately understand one's spiritual identity. And then one can understand the Supreme Lord by means of devotional service. When one is well situated in devotional service, one comes to the transcendental position, qualified to fill the presence of the Lord in sphere of one's activity. This particular position is called liberation in the Supreme. After explaining the above principle of liberation in Supreme, the Lord gives instruction to Arjuna as to how one can come to that position by the practice of mysticism yoga known as Ashtanga Yoga, which is divisible into eightfold procedure called Yama, Niyama, Asana, Pranayam, Pratyahar, Dhyan, Dharana, and Samadhi. In 6th chapter, the subject of yoga is explicitly detailed, and at the end of the 5th is only primarily explained. One has to drive out the sense objects such as sound, touch, form, taste, and smell by pratyahar process in yoga, and then keep the vision of the eyes between the two eyebrows and concentrate on tip of the nose with half-closed lids. There is no benefit in closing the eyes altogether, because then there is very chance of falling asleep. Nor is there benefit in opening the eyes completely, because then there is a hazard of being attracted by sense objects. The breathing movement is restrained within the nostrils by neutralizing the up movement and down moving air within the body. By practice of such yoga, one is able to gain control over the senses, refrain from outward sense objects, and thus prepare oneself for liberation in Supreme. This yoga process helps one becomes free from all kinds of fear and anger, and thus feel the presence of super soul in the transcendental situation. In other words, Krishna consciousness is the easiest process of executing yoga principles. This will be thoroughly explained in the next chapter. A Krishna conscious person, however, being always engaged in devotional service, does not risk losing his senses to some other engagement. This is the better way of controlling the senses than by Ashtanga Yoga. Yuktahar viharasya yuktachestasya karmashu yukta swapnavabodhasya yogo bhavati dukhaha. He who is regulated in his habits of eating, sleeping, recreation and work can mitigate all the material pains by practicing the yoga system. Extravagance in matter of eating, sleeping, defending and mating, which are demands of the body, can block advancement in the practice of yoga. As far as eating is concerned, it can be regulated. Only one is practiced to take and accept prasadam, sanctified food. Lord Krishna is offered, according to Bhagavad-gi, vegetables, flowers, fruits, grains, milk, etc. In this way, a person in Krishna consciousness becomes automatically trained not to accept food not meant for human consumption, or not in the category of goodness. As far as sleeping is concerned, a Krishna conscious person is therefore any unnecessary time spent sleeping is considered a great loss. Avyartha kalatmanam. A Krishna conscious person cannot bear to pass a minute of his life without being engaged in the service of the Lord. Therefore, his sleeping is kept to a minimum. His idea is this respect of Srila Rupa Goswami, who was always engaged in the service of Krishna and who could not sleep more than 2 hours a day, and sometimes not even that. Thakur Haridas would not even accept prasadam, not even sleep for a moment without finishing his daily round of chanting with his beads. 300,000 names. As far as work is concerned, a Krishna conscious person does not do anything which is not connected with Krishna's interest, and thus his work is always regulated and is untainted by sense gratification. Since there is no question of sense gratification, there is no material leisure for a person in Krishna consciousness, and because he is regulated in all his work, speech, sleep, wakefulness, and all other bodily activities, there is no material misery for him. Devi Resha Gunamayi Mama Maya Duratyaya Mameva Ye Prapadyanti Maya Metam Tarantite. This is the most beautiful verse, and it's worth knowing. It says, this divine energy of mind, consisting of the 3 modes of material nature, is difficult to overcome, but those who have surrendered unto me can easily cross beyond it. The Supreme Person of Godhead has innumerable energies, and all these energies are divine. Although living entities are part of his energies and are therefore divine due to contact with material energy, their original superior power is covered. Being thus covered by material energy, one cannot possibly overcome its influence. As previously stated, both the material and spiritual natures, being emanation from the Supreme Person of Godhead, are eternal. The living entities belong to the eternal superior nature of the Lord, but due to contamination by inferior nature, matter, their delusion and illusion is also eternal. The conditional soul is therefore called Nitya-baddha, or eternally conditioned. No one can trace out the history of his becoming conditioned at a certain date in material history. Consequently, his release from the clutches of the material nature is very difficult. One, though his material nature is an energy, because material energy is ultimately conducted by the Supreme Will, which the living entity cannot overcome. Inferior material nature is defined herein as divine nature, due to its divine connection and movement by the divine will. Being conducted by divine will, material nature, all the inferior, act so wonderfully in the construction and destructions of the cosmic manifestation. The Vedas confirm this as follows. Mayam tu prakrutim vidyana, Mayinam tu maheshwaram. Although Maya or illusion is false or temporary, the background of Maya is the supreme magician, the personality of Godhead, who is Maheshwara, the supreme controller. Another meaning of guna is rope. It is to be understood that a conditioned soul is tightly tied by the ropes of illusion. A man bound by the hands and feet cannot free himself. He must be helped by a person who is unbound, because the bound cannot help the bound. The rescuer must be liberated. And that for only Lord Krishna or his bona fide representative, the spiritual master, can release the conditioned soul. Without such superior help, one cannot be freed from bondage of material nature. Devotional service of Krishna consciousness can help one gain such release. Krishna, being the Lord of the illusory energy, can order this insurmountable energy to release the conditioned soul. He orders his release out of his causeless mercy on the surrendered soul and out of his paternal affection for the living entity, who is originally a beloved son of the Lord. Therefore, surrender unto the lotus feet of the Lord is only means to get free from the clutches of the stringent material nature. The word mam eva are also significant. Mam means unto Krishna, Vishnu only, and not Brahma or Shiva. Although Brahma and Shiva are greatly elevated and are almost on the level of Vishnu, it is not possible for such incarnation of Rajoguna passion and Tamoguna ignorance to release the conditioned soul from the clutches of Maya. In other words, both Brahma and Shiva are also under the influence of Maya. Only Vishnu is master of Maya. Therefore, he alone can give release to the conditioned soul. The Vedas satisfies with practically no food. They are simply absorbed in the working hard day and night. It's talking about the nature of the material person, materialistic person, that they are always engaged themselves and like a workaholic people. 24 hours a day they keep working, their mind keeps working in materialistic activities. So what happens? This inner realization that we are talking about, knowing Krishna, surrendering Krishna, and practicing Krishna consciousness is out of touch, and they will never be able to absorb those things. So Vedas and Upanishads confirm in this phrase, Tam eva viditva. All freedom is possible only by understanding Krishna. Even Lord Krishna or Shiva affirms that liberation can be achieved only by the mercy of the Vishnu. Lord Shiva says, Mukti padat sarvesham Vishnu eva no sam samshayah. There is no doubt that Vishnu is the deliverer of the liberation of everyone. So this is again a beautiful pastimes that the devotee is approaching Lord Shiva and asking for liberation. And Lord Shiva says, yes, I am pleased with your seva, but the problem is that that's beyond my reach. If you are looking for any kind of liberation, you go to Krishna, because I am unable to grant any kind of liberation. So this is what it's trying to say. Now, going further, he explains, Agnir Jyoti Raha Shukla Shanmasa Uttarayanam Tatta Prayata Gachanti Brahma Brahma Vido Janaham. Those who know the Supreme Brahman attain the Supreme by passing away from the world during the influence of the fiery God, in light, at an auspicious moment of the day, during the fortnight of the waxing moon, or during the 6 months when the sun travels in the north. So this is again a wonderful verse where it explains that when the fire, light, day, and the fortnight of the moon are mentioned, it is to be understood that overall all of them, they are various presiding deities who make arrangements for the passage of the soul. At the time of death, the mind carries one on the path to a new life. If one leaves the body at the time designated above, either accidentally or by arrangement, it is possible for him to attain the impersonal Brahma Jyoti. Mystics who are advanced in the yoga practice can arrange the time and place to leave the body. Others have no control. If by accident they leave at an auspicious moment, then they will not return to the cycle of birth and death. But otherwise, there is every possibility that they will have to return. However, for the pure devotee in Krishna consciousness, there is no fear of returning, whether he leaves the body at an auspicious or an inauspicious moment, by accident or by arrangement. Api chet sudujacharo bhajate mam anya bhaga sadhureva samantavyo samyak yavyasito hi saha. Even if one commits the most abominable action, if he is engaged in devotional service, he is not considered, is to be considered saintly because he is properly situated in his determination. Once again, even if one commits the most abominable action, if he is engaged in devotional service, he is to be considered saintly because he is properly situated in his determination. The word su, durachara, used in this verse is very significant, and we should understand it properly. When a living entity is conditioned, he has two kinds of activities. One is conditional and the other is constitutional. As for protecting the body or abiding by rules of society and state, certainly there are different activities even for the devotees in connection with the conditioned life, and such activities are called conditional. Besides this, the living entity who is fully conscious of the spiritual nature and is engaged in Krishna consciousness or the devotional service of the Lord has activities which are called transcendental. Such activities are performed in his constitutional position and they are technically called devotional service. Now in the conditioned state, sometimes devotional service and the conditional service in relation to the body will parallel one another. But then again, sometimes these activities become opposed to one another. As far as possible, a devotee is very cautious so that he does not do anything that could disrupt his wholesome condition. He knows that perfection in his activities depends on his progressive realization of Krishna consciousness. Sometimes, however, it may be seen that a person in Krishna consciousness commits some act which may be taken as the most abominable socially or politically. But such a temporary fall down does not disqualify him. In the Srimad Bhagavatam, it is stated that if a person falls down but is wholeheartedly engages in the transcendental service of Supreme Lord, being situated within his heart and excuse him from that abomination. A material contamination is so strong, we engage in the service of the Lord, sometimes become ensnared by Krishna consciousness is so strong that such an occasional fall down is at once rectified. Therefore, the process of devotional service is always a success. No one should deride a devotee for some accidental fall down from the ideal path. For, as explained in the next verse, such occasional fall downs will be stopped in due course as soon as the devotee is completely situated in Krishna consciousness. Therefore, a person who is situated in Krishna consciousness is engaged with determination in process of chanting Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare, should be considered to be the transcendent position. Even if by chance or accident he is found to have fallen, the word Sudur Eva, he is saintly, are very empathetic. They are warning to the non-devotees that because of the accidental fall down, a devotee should not be derided. He should still be considered saintly, even if he has accidentally fallen down. And the word Mantavyaha is still more emphatic. If one does not follow this rule and derides that devotee for his accidental fall down, then one is disobeying the order of the Supreme Lord. The only qualification of devotee is to be unflinching and exclusively engaged in devotional service. In Nrsimha Purana, it is stated that even if one fully engages in devotional service of the Lord, is sometimes found engaged in the abominable activities. These activities should be considered to be like the spots that resembles the marks of rabbit on the moon. Such spots do not become an impediment to the diffusion of the moonlight. Similarly, the accidental fall down of the devotee from the path of saintly character does not make him abominable. On the other hand, one should not misunderstand that a devotee in transcendental devotional service can act in all kinds of abominable ways. This verse only refers to an accidental due to the strong power of material connections. Devotional service is more or less a declaration of war against the illusory energy. As long as one is not strong enough to fight the illusory energy, there may be an accidental fall down. But when one is strong enough, he is no longer subject to such fall downs. As previously explained, no one should take advantage of this verse and commit nonsense and think that he is still a devotee. If he does not improve his character by devotional service, then it is to be understood that he is not a high-class devotee. So right now, as you see, we have been offering food to Radha Krishna, behalf of Gulab family. We have cooked a special feast this evening, which we'll share with a lot of devotees also. And a lot of people will honor the guests also. Now, if you have possibility of having some nuts or cut fruits or something. Right now, Radha Govinda is with you on your cell phone, on your laptop, on a television, whichever way you are watching this live streaming. You can see Radha Govinda right there. So if you want to offer something, even a drop of water, Radha Govinda is there as a guest and you can offer them. Pretty soon, after we remove the short curtain, we will start offering the arti. That time we will be singing the Gaura Arati. And that time, if you have possibility of having some paraphernalias, like a conch shell, bell, incense, ghee lamp, little water, hanky, some flower petals, or a flower, and charmer or peacock fan, whatever you have to offer to Lord. As we sing the arati, you could also join at home and be prepared. Look at the pujari, how the pujari is offering things one by one. It's about 25 minutes of arati. And just watch the pujari, and if it's possible, along with the pujari, you can also offer and please the Radha Govinda. Radha Govinda is your guest. Whatever you offer, Radha Govinda will be more than happy to accept. So Vanessa, you listen what we are talking about. If you have something, try to offer it to Krishna. This is your birthday. We go to the next one, and he says, Yo mam jamanadim cha vetti lok maheshwaram asamuddah samarteshu sarupape pramuchyate. He who knows me as the unborn, as the beginningless, as the supreme Lord of all the worlds, he only undiluted among men. He is freed from all the sins. So these are the qualities of Krishna, and one knows perfectly. All his sinful activities will be vanquished. Mat karma krun, mat parmo, mad bhakta sangavarjitaha, nirvera sarvuteshu yase mameti pandava. Here it says, my dear Arjuna, he who engages in my pure devotional service, freed from the contaminations of routine activities and mental speculation, he who works for me, who makes me the supreme goal of his life, and who is friendly to every living being, he certainly comes to me. So we always talk about going back to Godhead. But how, we don't know. But this is the way that you have to accept Krishna, surrender to him, sacrifice for him, and live in Krishna consciousness. Shreyo hi gnana abhyasat, gnana dhyanam vishishyate, dhyanat karma phalatyaga tyaga shanti nirantaram. This is a peace formula. Everybody is talking about peace, including the United Nations. For many years, people from all over the world, they become the member of United Nations. They sit down together and try to find a peace formula so that the world will be peaceful. But more struggle is going on, more pandemic, more problems, more fires, more flooding, more shortage of water and food, poverty, violence, guns, murders and deaths, wars between the countries, and hundreds and thousands of people, they die on a daily basis. So, what is the peace formula? So here says, if you cannot take to this practice, then engage yourself in the cultivation of knowledge. Better than knowledge, however, is meditation. And better than meditation is renunciation of the fruits of actions, for by such renunciation one can attain peace of mind. So unless you renounce, there is no peace of mind. What is the renunciation? Your mother, for example, there are two children, and there are only two pizza slices. So one slice is given to Christina, other slice is given to Vanessa. And Mary, the mother, prefer to stay hungry. Rajesh Gulab would prefer to stay hungry, and they satisfy the hunger of these two girls. That's the sacrifice. And that is why I say, Paramashanti, that's the thing that gives them a peaceful mind and peaceful situation. Tyagat Shanti Nirantaram. That is the only way to establish the peace. But as you see sometimes, there is one piece of pizza lying on the road or a sidewalk, and so many pigeons they come, so many dogs and cats they may come, and they fight for one slice of pizza, and it's like a war. So we don't want to create the war zone. Whatever we are entitled, we of course enjoy that. But if we can sacrifice it for someone else, that will really give us a peace of mind. So this way, the key to the peace is offered here in Bhagavad-Gita. Kshetragnam chabimam viddhi sarvakshetreshu bharata kshetra kshetragnayo jnanam yajnanam matam mama. O son of Bharata, you should understand that I am also the knower in all bodies, and to understand this body and its knower is called knowledge. That is my opinion. So people go to school and they learn a lot of subjects and they become doctorate and all kind of degrees they achieve. But if Krishna, here it says, unless you know this body and the knower of the body who resides in your heart as a super soul, Krishna himself, unless you know him, anything else that you know is not knowledge. Mamchi yo avicharena vyakti yogena sevate sagunan tityana brahma bhuyaya kalpate. One who engages in full devotional service, unfailing in all circumstances, at once transcends the mode of material nature and then comes to the level of Brahman. So, bhakti avyabhicharinim. That means the only thing you know is Krishna and nothing else. The mind has so many choices. He can ask for money, he can ask for beauty, he can ask for energy, and ask for fame, he can ask for so many other things which are available in this material world. But one who is simply concentrating and focusing on Lord Krishna, that I want Lord Krishna only, that is the avyabhicharini, that is one-minded requirement or focus on Lord Shri Krishna. And then he said, Nirmana moha jita sanga dosha adhyatma nitya vinavritta kama those who are freed from the false prestige, illusion and false association, who understand the eternal, who are done with materialistic lust, who are freed from the dualities of happiness and distress, and who unbewildered know how to surrender unto the Supreme Person, attain to the eternal knowledge. So that is the way to gain the knowledge, and we have tried to gain little knowledge by reading Bhagavad-Gita. So right now, Mataji is going to offer the Aarti, and please try to join. If you are home, if you have harmonium, mridanga, kartal, or any other instrument, and especially puja paraphernalias, try to follow the pujari and try to offer the Aarti. Shri Radha Govinda is at your place, in your cell phone, on your laptop, on your TV, whichever way you are watching the live stream. You can see Radha Govinda, and now we have to offer the Aarti. Can you turn on the light? Thank you. You play mridanga? Pick up. Namo Vishnu Padaya Krishna Pristhaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swami Iti Namine. Namaste Saraswati Dev Gaurvani Pracharine Nirvishesh Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshitarine. Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shri Vasadi Gaur Bhaktivinoda. Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita गदादा श्रीवासदि गौरभक्तवृंद की बजयो जय गौराचंद आरती को शोभा की बजयो जय गौराचंद आरती को शोभम झानवी तटवन जगमन लोभा झानवी तटवन जगमन लोभा दक्षिण निताय चात वाम गदाधर दक्षिण निताय चाँद वाम गदाधर निकटे अद्वैत श्रेणी वास छत्र दारा निकटे अद्वैत श्रेणी वास छत्र दारा बसी अच्छे गौराचंद रत्न सिंहासन बसी अच्छे गौराचंद रत्न सिंहासन आरती कोरेन ब्रह्मा आदिदेव गणे आरती करेन ब्रह्मा आदि देवगणे नरहरि आदि कोरि चामर झुलाय नरहरि आदि कोरि चामर झुलाय संजय मुकुंद बासु घोष आदि गाय संजय मुकुंद बासु घोष आदि गाय शंखा बाजे घंटा बाजे बाजे करताल शंखा बाजे घंटा बाजे बाजे करताल मधुर मृदंगा बाजे परम रसाला मधुर मृदंगा बाजे परम रसाला शंख बाजे घंटा बाजे मधुर 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 बाजे शंख बाजे घंटा बाजे मधुर 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 बाजे मधुर 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 बाजे मधुर 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 बाजे हरि बोल हरि बोल हरि बोल हरि बोल निताय गौर हरि बोल हरि बोल हरि बोल हरि बोल। बहु कोटि चंद्रिनी बदन बहु कोटि चंद्रजिनी बदन उज्ज्वल गल देश वनमाला कुरजल माला गल देश वनमाला कुरजल माला शिवा शुक नारद प्रेम गदागद शिवा शुक नारद प्रेम गदागद भक्ति विनोद देख गुरार संपादा भक्ति विनोद देखे गुरार संपादा की बजय जय गौराचंद आरती को शोभन की बजय जय गौराचंद आरती को शोभन जानवी तट मन जगमन लोभा जानवी तट मन जगमन लोभा हरे कृष्ण 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare,